Hey, welcome to Plants Are My Therapy. Today I'm going to talk about peace lilies. Peace lilies are great plants. They're easy to maintain, they're easy to care for, they're beautiful plants with beautiful lush leaves that purify the air. They're great indoor plants. They can handle low indoor light. They will thrive in high indirect light, but they can't handle direct light. They will burn. They are very forgiving if you forget to water them. Just don't overwater them. Make sure they're dry in between waterings. I love these plants because they are beautiful plants and they're easy to maintain. This plant is about 3 years old. I got it as a little $3 plant and I overpotted it in this pot. And since then, the soil in this pot eroded about 2 to 3 inches. So I'm going to repot this plant. I'm going to recycle this decorative gravel because in my old age I want to be fiscally responsible because I'm in my red zone for retirement planning. I used to be really gentle with these plants, but these plants are tough. I'm still careful, but I don't baby these plants anymore. I'm going to repot this plant in a slightly bigger pot. It's only about a ½ inch bigger in diameter. I don't want to get a pot that's too much bigger because a bigger pot means more soil and a heavier plant. I put a layer of gravel on the bottom of my pots for drainage. I know it's become controversial to put gravel on the bottom of the pots because some people believe that it takes away from the plant's growing space. But as evidence from the first pot, the dirt will erode into the gravel and then the roots will have their chance to get into there. Now my potting mixture, I use 2 parts of soil because all plants need soil. Then I use 1 part of perlite, not vermiculite. This is for drainage, aeration, and moisture. And then I use 1 part of volcanic soil, volcanic cinder. This is for drainage and aeration. And then I use a ½ a part of orchid bark. The wood will hold on to nutrients inside of the pot so it doesn't drain out of the pot with the drainage water. And then as the wood slowly decays, it'll release these nutrients back into the soil so it could be used by the plants. I try to estimate on how much soil I'll need to raise the plant back up to the level that I want. I don't want to be repotting every year. If I have to go every 3 years, that'll be good enough. So I'm going to fill this soil up as high as I can to raise the level of the plant to approximately a ½ inch or maybe a ¼ inch below the rim of the new pot. And like I said, I used to be gentle and I am still careful, but these plants are very sturdy. They're very durable. And it's a beautiful root ball. I don't like to destroy the root ball. I don't like to mess with the root ball too much. I know people say to cut it or to smash it. I just tickle it. I just move it around and just hopefully that this movement and loosen it up will encourage it to grow on top of the soil that I'm going to put it on. When I top the plant with the soil, I don't use my mixture. I just use plain potting soil. And the reason for this is that vermiculite and perlite will float to the top if you water it, and then eventually over time you're going to end up with a layer of moist perlite or vermiculite, and that's too much of a tempting place for gnats and worse, slugs. This plant seems to be a perfect fit, but actually this pot is about a ½ inch larger in diameter. So the plant is sturdy, it has the root ball intact. The main thing is I get as much dirt down the sides because you don't want that causing you any problems later. I like to put on a layer of decorative gravel. It's just a nice finishing touch that makes the plant look nice. It's going inside the house. I want it to look nice. The only thing you have to remember about decorative gravel or any other topper is that it's going to affect the rate of evaporation. So that's going to affect your watering. I water my plants once a week, and I make sure I water it thoroughly till the water comes down the drainage holes. If I don't have time to do that, I just pour a glass of water in until I do have the time to do it. And this plant is so easy, they tolerate it. This pot I planted as a little $3 plant in a big pot, and I left it down the slope under a shady tree so it'll grow big enough until it was big enough to take into the house. But this plant didn't grow like the other plants. Instead of growing bigger and taller, it just seemed to grow more plants until now it looks like a bucket of leaves. So I'm going to repot this plant, but I'm going to divide it. I'm going to recycle the decorative gravel. Then I'm going to carefully take out the root ball. Then I take apart the root ball. I hate disturbing the root ball, but since I'm going to divide the plant, this is the only way. I actually sawed in half a root ball, thinking that would be less traumatic, but that leaves a plant susceptible to infection and root rot with all the open roots. So this is the more gentle way to divide a plant. I know I'm using a lot of water, and I wish I was on the lawn so this water wouldn't be going to waste, but I only do this about maybe once every 1 to 1.5 years. And my water bill is about $140 to $160 for 4 people. So, well, actually, I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what I'm used to paying. What's infuriating is that our former mayor raided the sewer fund and then within weeks declared that Honolulu's sewer system is in need of $1 billion in repair. And then he increased the property taxes, increased the water fees, increased the sewer tax. Every city service he increased. This is why I don't know if I'm able to retire in Hawaii. Hawaii has favorable tax laws. They don't tax on Social Security or pensions. They do have to tax IRAs. But the city and state will nickel and dime you for everything they can get out of you. That's why I need plants as my therapy. Okay, this has been going on longer than I thought. By the time I get to this stage, usually the plant root separates, or the plant separates into different sections naturally. But this root ball is just so tangled. It's so healthy. It's so tangled. I'm trying very hard to gently separate this plant. I think I found a divide, and I'm still trying to gently separate it. And now I'm trying to separate it, but less gently, because this has gone on far enough. All of these roots are good. All of these roots are healthy, but it's just so tangled. I could cut them, but then that's the last thing I want to do. I could try and untangle them, but that could actually do more damage than necessary. I'm going to have to cut it, but this is the most gentle way to cut it. I just cut the top, so I don't cut all the way down to decrease the amount of exposed cut roots. And then I pull them apart, and then there we go. Now that the plants are separated, I can get in between the plants to clean it up better. I'm surprised to see how many baby shoots it has. I mean, this thing has been sending up new plants everywhere, and I can pull out all the rubbish and all the old plants that has been hidden in there, and I can really clean up the plants. Now they are finished, and it was a lot of hard work to get here, but the plants are cleaned and separated and ready to be potted. I bought these pots from Walmart, and it came with these little discs inside, so I'm gonna see how well this thing works. I'm gonna put my layer of gravel, because I really believe in the layer of gravel is beneficial to the plants. And I'm going in a circle because there's a groove in there, but it turned out it doesn't matter. The groove is too shallow. Now the rest of this is a little bit more difficult to explain, so you're going to have to sort of get the general idea. I'm very confident in my soil mix. The mix is not wet because if you press down on a wet mix, you're going to end up with a brick. I want to put enough soil in here to support the plant. And a YouTuber, Ray from Voodoo Garden, says to pat the soil down as hard as you can press on a closed eyelid. I don't know if my eyeballs are a little too sensitive, but I find myself pressing down a lot harder than that. I don't press down like I'm trying to press down a brick, but I press it down firm enough so the plant will be supported by the soil around it. And I think that's the main idea that Ray from the Voodoo Garden was trying to make. Then when you notice the final soil layer, I just put plain potting soil. I don't use my mixture because my mixture has perlite in it, and perlite will float to the top when each time you water, and eventually it's going to form a moist layer that's going to attract or be very hospitable to gnats and worse, even slugs if you put it outside for a little while. And since these are house plants that are going to go inside the house, I top them off with decorative gravel. And the decorative gravel will also help in stabilizing the plant. But I pressed down on this plant firm enough, and it looks like the plant is pretty stable. Now we're going to pot its twin. And I got the same type of pot with the disc inside that I got from Walmart. So we're going to see how this works. I use my layer of gravel. I don't try to put it around the side because it doesn't matter. The grooves are too shallow. Then I have my potting mix, which is 2 parts of potting soil, 1 part of perlite for moisture, drainage, and aeration, 1 part of volcanic cinder for drainage and aeration, and then 1 part of orchid bark to absorb the nutrients in the soil and slowly release it as it decays. I really feel confident about this soil recipe. This has been developed through a lot of trial and error. And as far as this plant goes, the root looks really good, really healthy, just like the other one. But instead of just putting this plant in like we do the other ones, I'm going to trim the bottom of these roots. The theory is that if I trim the tips of these roots, it will stimulate the plant to make more roots outwards. And we'll see how this works. After all, we're always learning to figure out ways to do things better and more efficiently. Let's see what works and what doesn't. And I'm potting the plant with my mixture. The mixture is not moist, or it's between moist and dry. It's definitely not wet. I top it out with the potting soil. I press down only firm enough to support the plant. I don't want to make a block in there. The plant's not going to escape. The only thing we have to do is put enough soil in there to help it stand up. We're not going to try and stop it from running away. Then I top it with decorative gravel because this is an indoor plant and I want to make it look nice. And this is a very nice finishing touch that people won't know that they appreciate. Then look at this plant. This is a beautiful plant. Look at the long stalks and the wide, broad leaves. This plant is beautiful. Divided like this, it shows how elegant this plant can be. The other way, it just looked like a bucket of leaves, but just look at this. The big, thick leaves, even the decorative gravel against those dark green leaves really makes this plant pop. And one of the final steps is to wash down this plant to make sure there's no matter on it that may be a haven for infections or parasites. Then the final and most important step is to spray down this plant with neem oil. This is a 2-gallon sprayer. Inside this sprayer has 2 gallons of water and 2 tablespoons of neem oil mixed with 1/2 teaspoon of dishwashing liquid. Neem oil is really good because it disrupts the bug's life cycle. If they're eggs, they don't hatch. If they're larvae, they don't develop into pupa. If they're pupa, they don't hatch into adult insects. If they're adult insects, then they die. And neem oil is safe for humans and doesn't seem to affect beneficial insects like ladybugs. The neem oil, I spray it down on the dirt as well, so the plant will take it up inside its system to make it less desirable to pathogen and other insects. Another benefit to neem oil is that if you're the type of person who likes your leaves of your plants to be shiny and you buy those leaf glaze or leaf gloss, you don't need to waste your time on something cosmetic. The neem oil will leave a nice sheen on these leaves. Neem oil was developed in India about 4,000 years ago, 2000 BCE, by the Indians of India. And they discovered that the neem oil is an effective pesticide. The Chinese like neem trees inside their gardens or yard because the leaf litter, when it decomposes, its uptake by the other plants cause those other plants to be less desirable to pests. So I can't oversell neem oil. The plant I'm washing now or spraying down now is the first plant that you saw me repot. I mean, this is I love this plant. This is my favorite plant. This is the final peace lily that I'm going to repot today. Actually, I'm not going to repot it. I'm just going to refreshen the soil. The soil had eroded down about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to do like this I did the other plants. I'm going to recycle the decorative gravel. I'm going to use my same potting mixture, which is 2 parts potting soil, 1 part perlite for moisture, aeration, and drainage, 1 part of volcanic cinder for aeration and drainage, and 1 part of orchid bark, which is to help keep in the nutrients from running out with the water. I'm not going to be as gentle as I usually am, but I am still careful. I'm going to try not to disturb the root ball. I'm just going to tickle the roots, trying to loosen them up. I figure if the roots gotten this far to the bottom looking for soil, they will find the soil that they need inside the pot. Since I'm reusing the same pot, I don't have the disc that I had for the other plants, so I'm just going to put the newspaper on the bottom to make sure the doesn't make a mess and holds in the soil and gravel. I put a layer of gravel because I'm a firm believer that gravel at the bottom of the pot benefits the plant. I estimate how much soil I'll need in the pot to bring the top of the soil to about 1 to 1/4 inch of the lip of the pot. And then I tickle the roots and it's a perfect fit. After I reapply the decorative gravel, I wash the plant with water to make sure there's no matter on it that will attract or be a haven for pathogens or parasites. Then I spray the leaves down thoroughly, the entire plant down thoroughly with neem oil. Again, this is a 2-gallon sprayer with 2 gallons of water, 2 tablespoons of neem oil, and 1/2 teaspoon of soap. This is a beautiful plant. Okay, I was wrong. This plant is the last plant I'm going to repot. This plant I got for $3.98 at Walmart. About a couple weeks ago, Hurricane Lane came through Hawaii and all the garden stores got all that mesh roofing torn off. And our local Walmart didn't have a chance to replace it. So all of these indoor plants that are not supposed to be in direct light are indirect light. And then I saw this little plant and it looks so healthy, except it's getting too much sun. If you notice, the leaves are a little scorched. I decided that I'll just repot it like I repot all of my small little peace lilies, and I'll keep them down the slope under a shaded tree to enjoy bright indirect light, and they grow quite fast. These plants can tolerate low indoor light, but they grow much slower. I don't know if you've been noticing, but my little helper is my youngest grandson. I'm trying to teach him critical thinking, so I explained to him what I was doing and why I was doing it, and it was his job to figure out what I needed without being told, and he's doing quite well. When the kids come home from school, my youngest grandson goes straight to the computer to play video games. My eldest grandson goes to his phone to text his girlfriend. And my granddaughter goes straight to the TV where she can sit for hours. Well, if it wasn't framed, you would see that this little plant is very root bound. So I'm just spreading it apart. The cameraman is my eldest grandson, who is currently texting his girlfriend. It's disappointing. All the kids stay in one room and they don't even socialize with each other. So this is our family time. This is our project. They protested, but I told them that they're going to have to spend time together and they're going to have to figure out a way to work together. So this is our family project, because our dinner time, the rule that nobody's supposed to argue or bicker at the dinner table, well, it doesn't work. So this is our family time. Anyways, if you look at this plant is very healthy, a little bit sunburned, but it's very healthy. So I'm just going to repot it like I repotted the other ones. The top layer soil is going to be just plain potting soil, so the vermiculite or perlite doesn't float on the top, which will make a moist little area for gnats and slugs. Then I put a layer of decorative soil on it. I spray this down gently with the water hose to wash off any particles that may be a haven for any parasites or pathogens. Then I sprayed it with neem oil, and all this footage was lost because I didn't notice that my cameraman was busy texting his girlfriend. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you were able to learn from my experience. And please like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and aloha.